There you go. So, extreme programming at Codeborne. Yeah, first of all, I will switch back to the browser. How many of you have been on this site and know what this is? A few of you. So how many of you have, so you know it, scroll down and here are 12 principles of agile software. I've clicked this and read these through. So yeah, a few. So this is actually, so while these four, let's say, I don't know, the main statements are nice, I think to get to the practice or how are you agile, then these 12 principles are really a good thing to actually, so if you want to say you're agile, go through this and with a checkbox, and if you can tick all of them, then you're agile. So back to this one, and the first one in that list was this one. The highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. And a lot of stuff here, but this I think sums it up the best. And if you do this, then the rest is already like technicalities. But make sure the customer is satisfied truly. And to do that, you have to deliver continuously, start early, and the software that you deliver has to be valuable. So this is what it's all about. Like everything else is the technicalities. And maybe this is what we'll get into, is what are the technicalities in order to be truly agile. So yeah, how do we do it so that we achieve it? And this is extreme programming. One of the practices which are called agile, I would say, and not only me, many others have said that one of the only practices that calls themselves agile that also has a lot of answers for developers as to how to be agile, how to build software in an agile way. Not just organizations, but also developers. And yeah, extreme programming is a discipline. It's not just fun thing to do, it's a discipline. And with that comes things that you have to do regularly with a system. And it organizes how the people actually produce this. And again, this high quality software and productivity are the important things. When I was preparing, I cannot find anymore where I took this, but this is like someone made a good summary of what extreme programming is about. So yeah, two references. I will not do a complete overview of what extreme programming is. If you don't know all the details, either this book is available in many places, or the extremeprogramming.org site is also a good reference. They are not related to each other, they are independent things, but just two pointers to put out there. This book, if I remember correctly, this book was something that I accidentally stumbled upon, I would say, more than 20 years ago. I read it cover to cover. At least for me, it clicked very well and it made perfect sense for me. And this is how the journey started for me. I started practicing it, preaching it to my fellow developers. They picked it up too, and now almost almost 25 years later, we are here and alive and kicking with building Codeborne. So yeah, getting to Codeborne. Codeborne has been doing this from the start, 13 plus years ago. Me, Anton, and two other friends, we started Codeborne, and we have been practicing it ever since. Just as a background, Codeborne is building software for others. We are like a, I know what you called it, software house building for others, but yeah, and we have right now close to 50 people working on, I think, about 8-9 projects in parallel, and all of them using XP all the time. This is what we do, and this is as I want to point out, this is a discipline. It's not something that is just constant fun and games. This is something, if we do it all the time, then we can keep doing it. And yeah, this is what I want to emphasize, that from my own experience, I can say that our customers are happy. They have said, they have told it to us multiple times. We have happy employees that are happy to come to work every day and do the work. And also we are financially successful company, so the owners of the company are also happy. So this is, I think, important. And to a large extent, all that happiness is thanks to the discipline that we follow. This is not a random chance that we just do XP and out of maybe we are also happy with that. So I will now jump into different practices of extreme programming and go into detail as to maybe how we do those or implement those. Feel free if you think that it's about something that you maybe want me to go into more detail or challenge more. Is it really possible that we do it that way or some other way? Just raise your hand and I can take the questions immediately. And I will also leave some room in the end so that you can ask the questions that maybe I forget to touch here. So yeah, whatever. So just make up, just if you have a question, if it fits to the topic, just shoot immediately. So yeah, XP has, actually there are a few more of those values, but these are the most things that I wanted to kind of point out, which is like the essence of, if you think it's all about communication between different parties, developers, communication between developers and customer, and also like all the parties there, and getting feedback to every level. I will get to that later. So these things are the crucial things. And simplicity, this is somehow what, I mean, if you just communication and feedback, probably if you look at many companies, I don't know, mission statements or something like that, these probably communication and feedback might be also there. Simplicity is an additional thing which if you leave out, then you have a huge gap, and this is an important part. I will get back to this later on. So they seek simplicity. Simplicity is not something that comes easily. It's not something that comes first to your mind. This is not a simple thing. Simplicity is you have to seek, you have to actively work in order to achieve simplicity. So yeah. Iterations, agile development is all about iterative stuff. So we have weekly iterations. I have seen other companies doing like 2 weeks, maybe some have a month or something. We initially said that we might be flexible, that maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Right now, already for a very long time, I don't think that we have had any other project which has like more than weekly iterations. Every week we have an iteration meeting with a customer where we demo the stuff that we have built during the previous week. This is actually working software, things that work. The stuff that in some weeks the increments are quite small, but all the time there is something actually tangible that we have built that has been delivered. It is presented to the customer, and if they wish, it can be released immediately to production. Some of the teams and some customer projects are such that you still have to build quite a lot before it can be released to the public. Some are different, that after the initial release you can quickly start releasing the next iteration results, so that new things get released every week. And how we do it is about the small user stories. This is the important part, is that we break down our work into these user stories. And user stories are the important part is that the user part, or they are functional things. They are things that make sense to the customer. So user story is never about, I don't know, you have to create some database tables, or you have to create some microservice, or you have to do some, I don't know, something technical. This is not the user story. User story is that the user can log in with a username or password, or the user can make a payment or apply for a loan, or pay their bill or something like that. So this is a user story. And sometimes if some of those might seem pretty large. So many of those stories get broken down into smaller increments, like let's say if you think we all make payments in the bank, and there are multiple nuances there. So probably if we would do another banking system, we would then break it down into smaller things. That first you maybe make a interbank payments, which is like inside your own bank, and then you can make some more fancier stuff, and then you can add like auto completion or some other features there. So these all, you can think of it as if you have the final product, you have one form which is about one payment form, but it has a lot of functionalities which can be incrementally added. But these increments are always can be added in a way that they are sensible to the business customer, and so that and the way they are built is that the most important, the most crucial parts are built first, and this is the most crucial parts in the eyes of the customer, and this is the priority thing. Always the customer defines the priority of the stories. So if it might well be that it seems to you that there is some very cool feature that should be built into the system, or maybe it seems logical or something, and you think that, but the customer sees that this is not very important, and it falls down in the backlog all the time. And sometimes these things that initially seem important and everyone thinks, yeah, let's write it down and we will soon prioritize it, it will like go down, and other more important things get done. But this is the important part, is to always listen to customer priorities and actually act based on them. And go.
How a customer is incentivized to prioritize the maintenance work, such as refactoring and keeping things in good shape overall, because it doesn't really add the tangible product value, but it surely does add intangible product value, like maintainability over time, right? So, and there is, it can be a challenge to explain or sell it to a customer. So how do you go about that?
Yes, very good question. This is something I didn't think about when putting these together, but this is, I think, let me quickly see. Okay, yeah, I will, jumping ahead a little bit, but this is going to the technical side, or building the system. We will never tell the customer that we need to do this refactoring, or we need to do this, I don't know, redesign, or this. This is part of the everyday work. We don't deliver a story if there is some refactoring that needs to be done. So technical, so I will jump ahead a few, so this is, I thought I will talk about testing. It ties together to this, but among other things, well, what I said, almost no technical depth. This is about this. When you say to anyone that you need refactoring, there is some technical depth. Do you know when there is the time for doing refactoring? TDD is about red, green, refactor. So when you have a failing test, write the simplest code that makes it pass. And then if you have a green test, then it's the time to do refactoring. Regardless of how much you see it needs to be done, but this is the right place. And if you do it, this is again about the incremental development, iterative development, which is agility is all about, is if you do it every day during your everyday practices, then it is never building so big that you basically, bend down on it and you cannot handle it, and then you have to raise your hands to a customer, okay, we cannot build anything meaningful, we have to do like a full month full of like refactoring. But there you had a follow-up there.
Yes. Sometimes there's a narrow opportunity window, right? And
you mean business-wise?
Yeah,
okay.
Business opportunity window, and there's a very limited budget to understand whether or not someone wants what we're building in the first place, right? And I do believe that it often makes sense, at least, considering that, okay, what if we just, willingly take on that technical debt and to validate the hypothesis, because if we discover that no one really wants this, then it doesn't really matter how much coverage does this piece of system has, and how robust and scalable the design of the system. But if we commit to maintaining or keeping our code base to the highest standards that we set for ourselves, we might miss this window of business opportunities.
I will jump around a little bit. This is about part of the answer is this one. Usually what I've seen, so okay, a little bit starting from a little bit further away. This is the startup mindset. Let's build something and let's see if it works and let's work from there. So to be honest, we haven't run into such a situation during the 13 years that we have been building software. So in reality, it hasn't been the case for us. We have always, there is more room over here as well. Yeah, there is always if you keep things simple, then even building the sensible thing doesn't take that long. Usually people tend to jump to quickly coding the first thing that comes to mind. And this is not the simple thing. The simple thing is the thing that if you sit down and think it through, ask business or whoever your customer is the hard questions as to what do you think in this, what do you think in this, and even if that might be, let's say, intimidating to you, like challenge the customer, or in all the cases, if you are let's say polite and meaningful in those questions, the customer will be happy and will come back thanking you in actually that you did it and that you provoked them to think about things. So this usually, especially in those startup cases, what I've seen is that the developers see that, okay, let's build something, but they also see it as a chance to build and try out some new technologies. Yeah, this is definitely something that we can do an AI solution, or like 2 years ago, it was definitely we need to do this blockchain here, or microservices, definitely. Yeah, we have a small startup company, but let's do microservices. We have to first deploy 1 month for deploying Kubernetes on our own. And then also, yeah, Kafka is also needed there. So all those, like, wipe everything. I can truly say that during the last, so these are all the buzzwords from how many AI applications have we done? 0. How many Kafka applications have we done? Probably 0. How many microservices? So some of our customers, you could say, have something microservice, but never something that we have proposed. What else was there? Blockchain. There was one customer that demanded blockchain. They actually hired, it was a startup, they actually hired someone on their own, to their own development team. So that person was dealing with the blockchain. We were all the time saying you don't need it for this purpose that you're building the stuff. Fast forward about a year or a year and a half, now this guy is fired. The startup is losing money and the blockchain is out of the door, but functionality that we have built can still handle all the needs of that startup. So there isn't a single answer, but this is a good dilemma there. But the thing is that, yeah, it's always, if you think simple, then you can actually solve even those startup cases. Yeah, go.
I wanted to comment that definitely we usually deliver about, like, let's say 20 stories per week. And some of the stories can definitely be proof of concept. And in this case, it is agreed to the customer, let's try this thing, but let's do the simplest thing possible to test it out. And then it's not a problem even if you test it with other. So it's just like the feedback loop is so quick, so that's fine.
So the feedback is that try to instead trim functionality that might not be needed, but don't sacrifice on the system design and coverage.
So yeah, the feedback usually when startups want to validate something, they don't need fancy technology for that. When you want to validate something, maybe you have like 5 customers who you want to validate. This can be done in any language with any tools, with like simple things. Mostly it's web-based stuff, so no fancy stuff needed there. But usually let's say the problems come when developers jump that, okay, this is a startup, I can try new things, I will try all those fancy stuff that Google is doing in order to satisfy their billion customers or however many they are. But this is the big difference, is that any technological piece that you bring into a project will bring along complexity. Complexity is on the other side of simplicity. So every time that you need to bring in something, you need to justify it well. Yeah, justify that, okay, yeah, there is this story that might become in the future, so let's already build this thing in. No, yeah, so how many of you know what this Jõgi means? Yeah, so you ain't gonna need it. That's the answer to all of those. Let's bring in Kafka, we probably need it. Jõgi, you ain't gonna need it. Microservices, blockchain, AI, whatever, language model, stuff like that. There are probably like 0.01% of all the projects that need some of those technologies, but only probably one of them. But in that case, most likely the developers will jump in and want to put all of them in because it sounds all fancier. But yeah, so this is, and yeah, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. This is also in this Agile Manifesto, these 12 principles. This is one of them actually from there. What do we say is, I will soon get to, is that we build software relatively quickly. And this is not because we code faster or we are faster on the keyboards or like stuff like that. This is because we work hard. Everyone in the team is working hard to understand what needs to be built. And usually most developers, most of the time, are building things that are not immediately needed. They might be needed in the future, but if you need to build it in the future, then do build it in the future, because then you are much smarter both in terms of like understanding technology, but more importantly about understanding the problem. This is any new project, whether it is completely new to you, or maybe you have been in that project already 3 years, but nevertheless, if you can postpone building something, then you have gained new knowledge once you get to that point when that is needed. There is a question.
Yeah, it's a follow-up question actually about tech data. Like for instance, if you build a page with a query that loads quite fast for now, but then eventually the load grows and the page starts crashing. So since you have all the user stories, no tech stories, how do you create like a user should see a page under a second or something like this?
This is a very valid user story actually, and most likely this is something that most of the customers don't need in the first place, or some need actually. Yeah, we are doing a lot of like financial institutions so big, so it's you cannot go out as a bank with like a simple page which says maybe tomorrow you get some money or something like that. So in that case, yeah, it has to be performant from day one. But yeah, it's true that loads grow over time. So this is actually in some of the project, there are these stories that make sure that this functionality is, let's say, available this amount of time, or like in this page loads. So these are, I would still call them business requirements, because this is, and it's about not that this database query has to be this fast, it's that this page must be available to the customers this fast. But these as projects mature, these come in the later stage, definitely.
So it's not reactive, it's still proactive. You monitor the load and try to
It depends. It truly depends, because sometimes if you follow these principles, actually it doesn't happen that often that you have to be reactive. But at the same time, we are most of the time, if possible, following how the system behaves in live environment. We want to keep an eye on how things progress and learn from that, and suggest also things to the customer that they want to do. So it's a mix probably. And there definitely have been situations where the customers let's say load has grown faster than anticipated, and then it has to be reactive. So customer prioritizes that this thing has gotten slow, we have to deal with that, then we deal with that.
All people are smart in your team, obviously, and everyone can justify anything. So how you solve ideological conflicts? I mean, different justification for the same solution. What is the principle?
Like in most teams, there is someone who is more senior. So, and what we do trust is that these people are on the simplicity side. So, I mean, I haven't seen it, but it's also possible that, let's say, the rest of the team wants to go very simple, and then the senior says, let's bring in this, like, some special technology. Then that person, that senior, must have a very good explanation as to why that is required. I cannot recall much of like this kind of conflict in that area. There is always discussions going on, and I can definitely say that even here different projects have somewhat different styles, if you wish, and some projects use technology which I wouldn't use, but if the lead team of that project is happy with running with that, then it's completely fine. And vice versa is that. So we have, and like with Anton, we don't agree on everything, but he's building his projects with some of the tools, and I'm building with some of the others, and both of those projects are successful, and the customer is happy, the developer team is happy, so no worries there. But but if you look a little bit further away, all those projects still fit into the just enough design or simple frame.
Maybe I have a simple example actually of also this performance thing. Like let's say you need to build a list of something, let's say like contracts or projects or whatever. And at first, like even many customers say, oh, let's do pagination like Google does it. We can do it as well. But pagination is like a terrible usability thing. And at first, definitely, I would tell the customer, let's not do it until we have a problem with that. And so, fast forward maybe 3 weeks. Okay, now we have like 1,000 items in the list. Okay, now maybe we write a new story with the customer. We agreed. Let's introduce a filter or something for this list. And then it's one possible solution. Another possible solution, let's do the lazy loading, or like this infinite scroll, which is much better usability than pagination. And like this, we find the best solution for the current moment, and we do implement it once we see that we're so far that it is actually needed.
Yeah, I think something that I forgot to mention in any of those is the usability, UI, UX side. We work closely together with our UI, UX team, and all those like small nuances is to, when customer is asking for one thing, like the pagination or something, they try to solve some problem that in many times they have in their current systems or they had in their previous life, and yeah, okay, we have to solve it this way. But if you actually start digging these, some people say these 5 whys question, or like, why do you want this, or why do you want this, and why is that, then you get deeper and deeper, and actually you can, maybe this long list that Anton was talking about, you could actually split it out into different things, because when one user looks at it, they want to find this one contract matching some criteria, and then some other person looks at some other criteria, and then out of those 1,000 there is only like 3 valuable for one and 3 valuable for the other. So actually, we could create one page where you contracts matching this criteria, contracts matching this criteria, and the rest is completely gone. Nobody cares about them. Only the actual customers see whose contract they are, something like that. So it is always about asking these let's say questions as to why something is necessary, and trying to solve it in a way that it is both technologically logical but also like user-friendly. So yes, this user-friendliness is an important part, which I unfortunately forgot out of the slides. Go.
One more tech depth question. The software probably uses different components, whatever, database, Elasticsearch, and so on, which has also constantly kind of like minor version updates and major version updates. So do you kind of like try to say, let's say, long-term support versions? Or do you, how do you balance that? Where are you, when, and to what are you updating?
So this is mostly about like third-party technologies that we use.
Yeah. But they often have some kind of breaking changes and so on, which may require like.
So I think because again this simple design part, we don't have it that many issues. I can recall some of the database upgrades that have been that in that case, but this is so one of our larger customers, I think this was a relatively recent thing I can remember, is that they wanted to upgrade the Postgres thing in Azure, or I don't even remember where that was, to a newer version, and then we tried it, or they tried it out in the test environment or something. They found some problems, and then these issues that they wanted solved were added to our storyboard. So this is okay, it's like a technical thing, but this is customers' needs. Their customer ops team wants to upgrade their database basically, and so it ends up as we need to do these minor changes in order to fit to that. So with other, let me think if I do have any other good examples, but usually this boils down to, again, maybe not tying yourself too tightly to those specific technologies, so you don't rely on this one very specific technology or something like that. Okay, an important part here is if this third-party software major change happens during the time when we have active development, then it's sometimes we handle it, because usually they are not so much breaking that it completely breaks everything. It's just that you have to fix one or two places. Sometimes we do it within normal workflow, is that behind the scenes we just handle it, we make those fixes. We usually prepare mentally ourselves beforehand that we have to do, and so when someone touches one or the other part, then we do those, and it's done. Since we this is going back to the testing part, since we have usually an extensive test suite, then we can easily run our tests and make sure that everything runs fine, and then it's all good. So, but if it happens later, when for some of or many of our projects, when the active development ends, so for some customers, they take over the development themselves. They have a smaller development team. They will go into, let's say, maintenance mode. So then it's up to them, or sometimes maybe they come back for us for help. I cannot remember situations where it came for such technical. Maybe there have been a few other situations, but more about adding new functionality. And sometimes, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I can remember this Estonian ID card and Estonian infrastructure has been such a thing that for one of our customers, there have been situations. So this is the customer, then us, and then there is completely third party, the certificeerimiskeskus or whoever is releasing these new things, or RIA actually I think is the correct thing. And then they say that, okay, from that moment on you need to use this new thing. So yeah, in that case we inform the customer that this needs to be done, and then they basically order from us the work. But usually it's not such a huge thing that it's not a big burden or something.
I have a comment. So I can share that I do it actually almost every week. Look and check if I have some dependencies which have new...
This is the direct dependencies of your project every day, yeah.
So this is like you have to refactor all the time, and you have to update the stuff all the time, because updating like with small steps is usually really easy. Updating like once per year is a lot harder, because there are a lot of stuff has changed. So how I do it, I usually like the whole week, my iteration, I develop new stories for the customer which have customer value. When I see that this week I've been really good and I've delivered like a lot of stuff, so I say, okay, I can spend half a hour to actually check the dependencies. Maybe there is something to be updated. And also GitHub has this dependabot as well, which helps for that.
I have a question from a little bit a different area. You mentioned how you're closely working together with client and doing demos and probably retros and prioritizing together with the client.
Mm-hmm.
But do you select clients that share your values, or do you somehow enforce those ideas to the clients, because things like constantly changing priorities, or client not present in demo and later saying that everything was wrong? Do those happen for you, or how do you solve it? It's easy to solve inside company.
Constantly changing priorities is something that is part of everyday life. This is what we accept, and this is what we are ready. This is why we use the simple design, test-driven stuff, and testing all the stuff so that we can make changes to our system, and this is all fine. But customer availability, this is an important thing, and this is something when we do customer like initial negotiation with the customers, we inform them that we expect them to have a person available to us, or actually involved in that project full-time basically. Most projects expect a full-time person, and I know of one situation, this was probably maybe 10 years ago already, where we informed the customer we were in the initial negotiations, they wanted to hire us, but we said we expect you to be also like involved in that project to provide us answers, and they thought that that is quite hard, that their people are dealing with other stuff, and this project never happened. I think that was one of the reasons. There were other reasons as well, but definitely this was part of the initial discussions there to make sure that there is such a person. Actually, what we have, our experience has shown that once you start these discussions, even if initially the customers are hesitant, they have, and each probably customer, the title of that person who is talking to us is different, and we really, in a good sense, don't care what's the title of that person. It has to be someone who has at least some influence in their organization, so that they can make decisions that, yes, let's make this feature first and this feature later. So it cannot be always that, okay, I will talk to my organization and then come back. They have to have some kind of at least rights to make decisions. But once that thing gets going, this trust is built quite easily if it comes through, again, this like communication and feedback loop is like, we build things, we show it to them, they give their feedback, and the next week they already see the results, sometimes already next day they see results. Many of the things they immediately, so one of the part of the communication is once we start building some user story, in many cases, we run into small details which need clarification with the customer. Depending on, like, we either call them, talk to, I don't know, Teams, Slack, whatever the channels are, we ask them these questions. We expect them to respond quite quickly, and customers will quickly get into that rhythm that they want to also provide that info because they see that this actually has an effect on the end result. And this kind of I know, satisfaction or like this being pleased with the result that they can actually affect the things, how things are built is quickly like helping to build this trust to the customers that they see that they give us feedback and they get the result and it's actually better than what was initially thought. Because so this is completely regardless of if you are agile or not agile or whatever, if you have a set of requirements, however well they are written down or not written down, specified, however well, however many months, hours, minutes or days or years have gone into writing them down, whenever I will start implementing them, I will get questions. And most likely you too, if you get like into a good like working process. And this is guaranteed. None of the specifications can think of every details which will come out if you start building the things. And now agile process and XP especially is about actually dealing with those situations because it's guaranteed that these things will happen. You cannot, or it is pointless to fight them. The same it's with change. It is almost the same as change is that things change. You have to be ready to that. And sometimes it even happens that we have been building something for a week. It's not yet ready. The customer, it's okay that it's not ready, but they come, okay, change of priorities. We don't need this right now. We need to go to the other way, basically. And it's all fine. We will delete the code that we have building, go the other way, and all is fine. So yeah, this is part of the work. So how we are doing? We have about 12 minutes more. So I will see if something that important that, yeah, estimations. I was recently we were doing like a technological audit for another project, not done by us, but by some other company to a state institution or something. And then I was also present in their meetings. They were doing, I think they were calling it Scrum, what they were doing, but they had this like hour or 2 hour meetings where everyone was giving estimations, and then this was like a completely separate meeting from the what I call iteration meeting. And then when the next week, or maybe it was even more time later, then like none of the estimations were correct, and everyone was like very worried that the estimations are not held and what's going on and stuff like that. Although it was obvious from the other meetings that the people were actually working on like some of the stuff was about this like not important stuff, but still people had been working on like important things. But these estimations and this time spent on doing these estimations, and this was like wearing everyone down. Everyone was bored and nervous and stuff, and with like if the estimations weren't met, this is complete bullshit. Don't do it. Like, I mean, our iteration meeting is that we will have the priority of stories. We don't agree that we will do this much. We just have the priorities. Usually there is more things prioritized than we think we will achieve during the next week, next iteration. But this is only a very rough estimate. And we will go in a constant pace. We will be building things. If something takes more time, the customer will, through that communication that we have them, will understand that why this, or sometimes we need to explain the things that why things take more time. But nevertheless, we don't waste time on like having weekly estimations and putting hours into doing estimations which do not produce any value. They don't produce software.
How do you then envision the customer syncs the product development with activities of other functions like marketing? Like how do you coordinate a launch marketing campaign when you don't know exactly when the thing is to be ready?
Okay, there are two different things. One is like weekly iteration meeting and their estimations. This we don't do at all. What we do is that for each user story we add a what's it, like a complexity, or what's it called? Points, basically story points. And based on that story points, what the pivotal tracker tool that we use calculates velocity. So it's about how many story points we do each week. From there, you can estimate that they get some estimate, like not, you don't need to ask everyone like any kind of like taser. But this, you get the rough estimate. But on the other hand, most people, most customers, when they come in the door, they say, I want to build this, how long will it take, what will it cost? The easy answer is, we don't know. And then they say, no, it cannot be. They said it's going to be 2 months and it will be alive and ready. And then we sit down and then we probably ask like 1, 2, 3 questions and they say, I don't know, we haven't thought about that. But how long that will take anyway. So this is like, I think most projects start like that. But through this kind of discussion, once we start asking these questions, the customer will also. But what we can say is usually like, in about 3 months, we can build you an MVP. Not always 3 months, but like we can give a rough estimate as to which will have like the core of the functionality that you will need. It will not have all the bells and whistles that you have told us about, but it is most likely something that you can already release, you can go live. So this is what we can give, and usually that is enough. And when the work starts, and what we then do is some customers have just want to ask it, but then once they start working, they really don't care, and they don't have a marketing who wants to do like a campaign but others have this marketing, and then and they have already stuff ready that this is the like not TDD but DDD, deadline driven development. So in these situations these happen, but what we do in these cases is we always, like when customer does the prioritization, like what else is needed in order to to launch. And more times than often, then they want to not sneak in, but they want to put in stories where they forget about these priorities. And then we ask, is it actually needed for the launch? Okay, then it goes back. And then like we help them in keeping this priority list on the things that are actually needed in order to launch. And usually these I can't remember any like very specific date launch, but usually these work out pretty well. Is that the scope of the stuff that can be released is still, it's just that maybe they don't have some fancy buttons and maybe all the stuff is not so some other features are still missing, but they can launch the stuff. So this happens.
So you still said that you put story points.
Yes.
Right. So it's estimation process.
Okay, there are 3 options, 1, 2, or 3. So 1 is a very easy story, 2 is like an average story, and 3 is a complex story. And this is it.
And you do it for kind of everything in the backlog?
It depends on the project. For some customers don't care about it so exactly. So for those, we do it only for the like next few iterations worth of stories. Some customers, and in some specific situations, they care about it more. And then we try to estimate like most of the backlog as much as possible. But again, like easy, regular, complex, and that's about it. And and then at the very start of the project, we don't know what's the velocity as to how many story points we do in each week. So then we can only say that let's put a rough estimate. We do like 20 story points a week or something, and then we get something, but it will adjust over time and you will get that. But in most cases, it's not that exact science, if you wish.
Yeah, because I have a follow-up question.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, to this one. Imagine the customer will have some certain budget and they want to evaluate if you want feature A or feature B, and it consists of multiple stories, right?
So in this case, we need more or less precise estimation, because if one is 2 times more complex as a big feature set, I mean not just send money, then another one, they might prioritize one.
Okay, but this is something that we do all the time when customers explain us some kind of functionality, whether it's like this A or B, or sometimes it's just they explain. Then we say, okay, this is like a relatively big chunk of work, but that part of it, we can do it for tomorrow, because most of the stuff usually is like they want some fancy stuff, but like the core or the crucial part, or maybe just adding some button somewhere, or like which is the start or something, is very small thing. So this opens the discussion, and then we basically we don't force them to choose between this big thing and this big thing. We can say we can chop it down to smaller pieces, because if it's a large thing, then it can be always chopped into smaller pieces. Most projects actually we have, so I don't know if you all have like a backlog and an icebox of these good ideas. Most projects end with the icebox full of good ideas which never get done, and everyone agrees, the customer, yeah, it was a good idea, but nobody cares anymore. I mean, we have a running product, it's working, it's bringing us money, so yeah, it's a good thing. I think we're running out of time. Let's see if we have anything. So yeah, we didn't get to talk about pair programming, we do it every day. Okay, a few important stuff is that, let's see, what I wanted to point out is that, yeah, we don't do pull requests, period. And we do trunk-based development. We don't do feature branches every day. There are a few situations where we use feature branches, like very, I don't know, some experimental things or something like that. But this is agile development is about continuous integration, and it used to mean slightly different thing, but this is what it means today. If you're doing pull requests, you're not agile. If you're doing feature branches, you're not agile. You're not doing continuous integration. So this is the important stuff, and this is about moving quickly.
Push to master, right?
Yes, not force push. I mean, this is about integration. Or if you can force push, then yeah, I don't know even how to do force push, but if you know, go ahead. Yeah, we don't do overtime. This is an important part, is that this is part of the work, is that if you push people to do overtime, then they will wear out, and soon they will not be able to work. They will burn out, or some will just disappear and stuff like that. We don't do that. And this is a principle. This is not just something that happens. We know that if we do the other way, it is not a sustainable thing.
Question. The release is tomorrow. The ad campaign is going full on. So it's like hundreds of thousands are spent on this, and people are, clicking the ads on YouTube and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. And you're late on schedule, and it's like 3 p.m. and you wrap up at 6 p.m. or at 5 p.m.
It's wrong to be in this situation in the first place.
Yeah,
so
this is a
death, right?
we avoid this situation. That's the thing is, so we never get into that situation.
Start the ad campaign once you have the stuff at least on the demo server working. So not before that. And
yeah. We will definitely always work with, and there have definitely been situations where the marketing wants to run ahead, and where they also, I think even seen situations where people inside the customer's company are like quarreling between themselves. Why did you order this campaign before getting okay for me, or something like that? So actually, once you build this trust with the customer people, then they understand that some things take more time, and usually it's about, because we go back with questions, what do you want here? And they say, we need to think about that.
Well, the answer to this is that starting the ad campaign later than the earliest possible moment means leaving the money on the table.
Yeah, but you don't order the ad campaign 1 hour or 1 day ahead. You probably plan it ahead 3 weeks or months ahead. So months ahead, you already know that your release date is 1st of something, and then you prioritize the stories. What are the stories that have to be in there? And once you get closer, if you see that actually you haven't had that success and you are falling behind, then still you have 1 month to go, and now it's about backup plan to reprioritize or maybe rethink what can go into the release. It is always about that you can leave out some of the things. Once the customer understands that, you can still do all the ad campaign. It's just that it doesn't have to be such a fancy application that they initially envisioned in their wildest dreams.
Thank you.
If you want to know more, this is the address to tell. But yeah, thank you.
Questions to this address?
Sorry? Yes.
Thank you for the talk, Erik. It was
Thank you.
really, really engaging. Perhaps we might spend another hour on this.